an appraisal company, and so
Oh, you
and
did?
a more before this, at the time my wife at the time was running the appraisal side, I was running the mortgage side, and our biggest client was cross country, and still is to this day for her. And I remember me and Ron were very, I'd hear from my wife at the time that like, where he's going, what he's doing, and I'm doing. And we're both kind of growing the business similarly. And then I
Mhm.
remember one day he just took off, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's he doing? And he was like branching. And in my mind, I hear net branching. I didn't hear branching. I heard net branching. Like, because
Right.
back in those days, it was like, don't do net branching, you're going to be in trouble. Yes. And so again, that's my, you know um investing, whether it be business investing, personal investing. If I see a little bit of danger, I hide. Well, and, I guess he got the last laugh in that, and that, he was able to grow the business through this now branching model that, ironically enough, we're just getting into. And so here
Yeah.
we are years later that we're starting to dabble in it. But yeah, yeah, I can be conservative at times, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
your personal finances, I think a lot of us have survived in mortgage because we have been conservative,
it's so
because
true.
you kind of do have to plan. And those, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been in since 92,
I was
80,
96.
yeah, 87 in banking, and then 92 more in the mortgage related space. And we always used to laugh because there were so many back in that day. There were so many LOs that would make massive amounts of money, but then they lived a lifestyle where they spent every single dime that they made. And then when the market turned, it was like the harsh reality of a budget was a hard thing to go backwards to, right? Um,
I think that's why when 20 years ago we decided, we're going to go into consumer direct, and at the time we were doing a bit of retail, but we were going to get into consumer direct, and we chose to not get involved in refinance, and we haven't to this day. Faith, we haven't solicited a refinance. We do refinances, but we just haven't
yeah,
solicited since that
organic.
point in time.
Yeah.
And I did that on purpose because of what you just said. Like, okay, rates go up, economy changes, people still buy homes. Yes, there might be less of them. There might be less of them, but it allowed me to take the curve out of, success in this business, and allowed me to have longevity. And just like a loan officer individually, my company hasn't had these sharp increases either, which can help. Which can help on the refi side. It's getting from refi to servicing is what a lot of guys do, and me, I'm just kind of like, I'm going up, but I'm kind of going up in
Stability.
my
Yeah.
own little pace. Yeah. And so, right or wrong, I certainly have had the benefit of a good night's sleep over the many years, even when the rates have been up or down. So it's allowed me a decent lifestyle, and but yeah, not as many big wins, but also not as many big losses. And I've seen,
Yeah,
and we've both seen plenty of that
for
in this industry.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I always call that extra money that you kind of tuck away by not doing those like rash things. That's I always call that my sleep at night money.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
it's just kind of it's there, and I know it's there, and I can use it if I need to, but it's still kind of there.
I think our brain works in a way that it's like, what is worst case scenario? Like, what
Always.
if tomorrow I wake up to nothing? Or, what does this look like? Well, I can get through a couple years. I'm good. Even if all those worst case happen, like if you don't have much savings because I'm out there at the clubs or doing whatever, young people do, like if I'm doing those kind of things, well, the sleepless nights are going to come because one bad day could put me out of business, which I had a mentality like that in my 20s. I certainly did.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did too. I think everybody,
Yes.
it's part of growing
Yes.
up,
For
I
sure.
think. But yeah, you are a young person. I don't know
Yes.
what you're
Yes.
talking about.
Yeah.
I
I'm
just need to
young-ish.
get
I play a young person, Faith. I'm not a young person. I play it. Yeah. I
okay.
fake it. Yes. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to just get to I could technically retire in December.
Good for you.
Because I'll be 62 in December, but I have
Good for you.
no
Yeah.
intention of
Oh, what would you do, Faith? Like, what would we do if you retired? Like,
age.
be bored? be bored. Like I don't like the goal of life every day is to wake up and stay busy. That
Yeah.
if I'm not busy, my mind's going to think, and I'm
Yeah.
going to be in trouble. Somewhere
Yeah.
along the way, I'm going to get in
You
trouble.
just, I think you ate. I mean, number one, I'm not ready. I feel like I still have something to contribute, which I think makes a difference. But I do think that you ate. A lot of people age when they stop working. Now, I'm very fortunate. I have a mom who's 88 years old. Just talked to her last night.
I was just
She
with my 86-year-old mother this week.
she
Yes,
works
we're in the same place.
she volunteers at three different places throughout the week, and she's 88 years old. And so she is, you have to keep moving and keep active with your community and all those things. And honestly, my mom, I mean, she's kind of like a 60 something. I would say late, if you late 60s is what you think when you kind of see her. So I pray that I have her genetics.
You
um
definitely do, and I think that you're also seeing like because my mom's the same. Like she has no ailments. She walks around, does things that a 6-year-old would do, the same as you're describing your mother. I think some of that has to do with modern medicine. I think a lot of it has to do with education, lifestyle education.
yeah.
But yeah, she at 86, she doesn't look like she's stopping. Like she looks like she's just getting started. She was talking to
Yeah.
me on the ride home to her place in Orlando about new jobs she's thinking about getting into. And I'm like, what? Yeah, you want to start a new career at 86? Like, okay, go for it, mom.
I had to talk my mom. My mom didn't retire until she was 72. But I had to talk her into stopping mowing her lawn this year because it's like she's in a community where people are probably, most of them, they're young, way younger than her, and they're at work all day long. And she'd go out and mow the yard. I'm like, if you fell or something happened, how long would you be out there? And she's like, I don't know. I usually don't do it till the afternoon. So, like, 4 hours. I'm like, the 10-year-old across the street, he would be more than happy to mow your lawn for probably $10 a week. And I will gladly pay him if you will stop. I mean, she's like, it's
I was
exercise.
just
It's
going to
like,
say that, though. I was almost going to defend your mom in that situation, Faith, because, like, at what point do you tell her, everything you tell her to stop doing? And I agree, there's some danger there, depending if she fell and things happen. But, the how do you get away from sedentary lifestyle in your older age? Like,
oh, yeah.
that's
You never
that's the
escape it
trick.
once it happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
But she
yeah.
still walks like a couple miles a day. She volunteers at three places. She's still driving in her own town. She doesn't do big drives anymore. So she's still got plenty to keep her moving.
I love
It's
it. I
crazy.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah. All
That
right.
gives
Well,
us
we're
that
going
gives us something to look forward to, by the way.
to, yeah, I mean,
You
I
know what I'm
hope
saying?
I'm that
If we
way.
got till 80, if I get till 86, like my mother, and still bouncing around, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel exactly the same way. All right. Well, I'm going to officially start this now,
Yeah.
now that we've just been chatting, because I've got like 5 questions
Sure.
that I want to ask you that we always ask everybody. But I will go back and say this is inside the TMC family. If anybody's watching this and you don't know who I am, I'm Faith Howard Mooney, the SVP of Member Engagement at the Mortgage Collaborative. I have been talking to one of my favorite people that I just met in the last like year and a half, which I find very hard to believe. But Chad Turner, who is the president of Society Mortgage, is with me. Chad, thank you for doing this with me.
Absolutely. I love to. With me and you, Faith, it always seems so easy to talk to. So,
Yeah.
thanks for having me for sure.
Yeah. Well, and we met because we both have kind of a common goal when we're at conferences, and that's how we met. So, folks, listen to this one. I think I reached out to Chad and said, I'm trying to meet new people that I've never met before. I've been in the industry for a long period of time. And you were like, I love that. I always want to meet new people. And we connected a little over a year ago, and it has been delightful. I'm very happy to say that you joined us in the TMC family. You have the most awesome team of people that work for you.
Thank
And on
you.
top of everything else, they're fun to be around.
I think that's kind of who we are too. I think that, and you're getting to know a little bit about us, but like the mortgage industry in general can be a little uptight, or it certainly has lost some of its youthfulness. And so I think that what we try to do, and it's easier as a CD channel, we are we're just getting into retail, but our foundation of who we are is we're a consumer direct purchase based organization, and so with that, we just get a lot younger people that want to get into the business. So we start off, I don't know, 20 new loan officers in the business every year at the very least on the consumer direct side. And so fun is needed, I think. Youthfulness is kind of what we try to bring to the whole industry for sure.
Yeah, you do a really, really good job with that for sure. And
Thank you.
it's much needed because like you said, there's so many of us that are way on the other end of that one that, it's like we want to prepare the next people coming in, and share knowledge with them before we're gone. So I
Yeah.
don't know a lot about you personally, but I have these questions that I would love to ask you so
You
that not
shoot.
only I
Yeah.
get to know you, but
I love it. Yeah.
our network gets to know you a little bit better. Tell me about your first job ever. Like, first job that you ever had, because you're an entrepreneurial spirit. So I know you had one relatively early on.
Well, what's funny about that is not really.
Really?
I went from not having a job all the way through high school, and I went and got fired from my first job working like in a Sam's Club environment, and I just was a terrible worker. I was not. I kind of grew up on the wrong side of the tracks and not like didn't have a great education, and so I went to sit in the unemployment line to try to get free money, and ended up seeing a brochure for the Navy, and so I said I just joined the Navy, and my parents happened to be in the Navy. That's not why I joined, is because they both were in it. But that was so that going to the Navy gave me the discipline then to be able to come back and say, okay, now not only do I get paid education, but I get to understand what real work's all about. And it's not my choice. In the Navy, you don't get to choose to work or not. And so, yeah, I had one job. And here's the ironic thing, excuse me, I had one job, and it's the only time I've ever worked. No, that's not true. I worked as a bartender in college. So I had two jobs my entire life that I didn't work for myself. One was at
Wow.
that warehouse club that I lasted for like a month before being fired, which rightfully so. And then the other one was at as a bartender in college. But outside of those two jobs, I've literally always worked for myself. And just because you didn't ask about it, just because you know a little bit more about me, my origin story. So my very first business, this is Columbus, Ohio, in the early '90s. I graduate from college. I know I don't want to work for anybody else, and I go and become. I started a restaurant delivery service, so a la Uber Eats. Yeah,
No
and
way.
even better, I started a grocery delivery service, a la Instacart. So here I am in 1993. I think that I know it all, and I got this service that I'm going to bring to the country, and I'm going to start here in Columbus. And while it was a fantastic experience, sometimes you can be so ahead of the time,
Yeah.
and we didn't have these nice little smartphones that you could create. So every time I wanted to add a new restaurant or new menu items at the grocery store, I had to go print 50,000 more menus to distribute across the entire downtown Columbus market. So it was like neat. It is just dating myself, but I was front page of the business paper. Really neat idea. It lasted about a year and a half until I shut the doors and I said to somebody, I'm shutting the doors Friday. What should I do? It was a mortgage guy. He said, why don't you become an appraiser and you can do all my appraisals for me? And that Monday I did my first appraisal. So I
Wow.
literally kind of have fallen into this world just by chance. Yeah.
That's so funny. It's such a great story. It also was my second question for you is how you got into mortgage. So that was absolutely a
Yeah.
perfect way to end things. Almost nobody chooses to be in mortgage is what I found by doing these interviews. It's kind of like people usually either have a family member or their mom wants them to get a job, kind of ironically has come up a number of times. And they land in our space. It's always so interesting to hear like how that happens. I had no idea you were an appraiser. My initiation into mortgage was in the appraisal space. I was in the appraisal space for 20 almost 25 years. Um and
I
so
still
yeah,
love it. I still love the art of appraising. I'll tell you another thing, Faith, is I never went into business knowing what I was doing, which is weird for an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs are technicians, so they're like a good appraiser, and then they go on their own and start their own appraisal business.
Yeah.
I would always do things in reverse, and I did the same thing in the mortgage side. I would I'd say, okay, I'm going to commit to the appraisal world, and I'm going to start Chad Turner Appraisal. It's not what it was called, but Chad Turner, and I'm going to hire a guy that can show me what to do and sign off on my stuff. And so that's how I started in appraising. And then in the mortgages, same thing. I remember the first day. It wasn't the first day. So I line up all the loan officers. I have no idea what I'm doing. Never worked in the mortgage industry. I had two processors, 7 or 8 loan officers. Get my office space set. I'm ready to go. And I remember like the first week, both of my processors called off work, and I'm like, shoot. So I remember this paper file days, and I remember having to like grab paper files, call an underwriter, and say, I don't know what this means, but it says like I need another pay stub. What do I do? I just call the client, get another pay stub, like on the job training, trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah.
Oh,
so I do things kind of backwards in that regard.
That's delightful, but kind of leads us into the next question that I had for you, which is, back in those early days, I mean, sometimes it's kind of nice not knowing, right? But if there was one thing that you wish you would have known coming into it that like is so crystal clear to you now that you would tell somebody new starting in the business, what is that?
So 4 years or so ago, I started going to conferences. Thank God I did, because I was able to meet you and many other great people. Before that, I don't know if it was fears or where it came from, but I was just in my own box doing my own thing, and I'm not going to let anybody tell me what to do or how to do. I'm going to create my own world. And that was wrong. That was wrong. And it took me 25 years to realize that was wrong, because every single, and you've seen me at those conferences, I have them back to back to back, and so, but every one of those engagements is a new way of doing things, or a new tech, or a new community. And so whenever you have engagement, you're going to have wins. And I just never, so if I could go back and talk to my initial self, God, I wish I would have. That I would have said, get out in the community, like get involved in what others, helping others and receiving information from others, and you can grow and scale your business easier, better. And I did. I chose to grind it out all on my own until I didn't want to do that anymore. So yeah, that's what I would say is get out there.
That's a great one, and something that I love to hear, because that's really kind of a lot of what we're about. And it's like, it's so amazing to me always, which I know that you're one of these people too, that it's always amazing to me how much people really want to help other people. I mean, they truly do want to help. And there is something about that stronger together, that you can just accomplish so much more so quickly and less painfully, maybe, in your business, if you have some buddies that are willing to help you out. If you weren't in mortgage,
one thing I always do, Faith, is I'll set up all my meetings at these conferences, and then I have the list of all the people that are going to be there, and I reach out via email to the entire list, and I say, if you're a mortgage company or another IMB and you want to sit down for 30 minutes and collaborate, I don't have any trade secrets. I'll give you the entire thing that we do here and how we do it, and let's just have some open dialogue. Now, sadly, I don't get taken up too much on that offering, even though I do it at every conference, because again, we're all, I think, a little bit like, I'm not going to tell them this is what made me successful. I'm not going to give away those trade secrets. So not wrongly, but I think that we all in general could open up a little more, because there's more to learn that we could all do,
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't always have to recreate the wheel on everything. I mean, it's like there are a lot of things that are just so similar that you may not do it exactly how somebody else does it, but they may say something that strikes a different idea or a different thought process that fits well in your business that maybe doesn't even fit in their business,
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you weren't in mortgage, what would we find you doing?
That was a question that I didn't realize was public. Similar question in Sarasota for the I think it was the Florida MBA. You know, the study of excuse me, the study of human beings interests me very much so. So if I could be a psychologist or a relationship therapist, I'm not saying I'm good at that. I'm saying like, yes, I am. I'm good at teaching others and showing others. My wife may beg to differ in how good I am. But yeah, some sort of psychologist for relationships, I think is like where I have the most fun. So if somebody could figure out how to pay me for that, and then I would probably take it.
You might be doing a lot of that with your team, and you
I'm
just
sure
don't.
so. I'm sure you're
You
right.
just
Yeah,
don't
I
realize
just do it
it.
naturally. Yeah,
Exactly. And you don't necessarily always get paid for it, but in a weird way, you kind of
and
do.
in an indirect way.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. You've been with TMC for about a year.
Mhm.
I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you and getting to know some of your team better. What do you love most about what you've learned so far about being in the TMC family? What means the most to you?
Well, I think that when we first met and when you told me about what your offering was, I think that the thing that spoke to me the most was the same thing that I'm speaking about in my world of trying to expose myself is to have others in my society community be able to be exposed to others in your world. And what I mean by that is like, when processors are getting together with other processors or underwriters to underwriters, and you're hearing that somebody else goes left instead of right on this thing, or, you just learn different ways of doing things. And like, so that collaboration is easier like at the executive level because you can go to these conferences and do these types of things. But to
Right.
be able to do it on a department level can be very challenging. And with your community allows us to do that. I think that would be my favorite part.
Oh, that's so nice that you chose
Yeah,
something that wasn't necessarily your favorite piece of things, but something for your team. That
for
speaks
sure.
very highly of you as a
Yeah,
leader. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Um, that we're done. Those
Well, look
were
at that. It
all the
was
hard
painless. That was painless.
that I needed to ask you. Thank you for doing
For
this
sure.
with me. Hang on with me for a couple of minutes as I
Yes.
shut the interview down. We have loved having you with us, not only on this interview, but in the TMC family. We love watching your team on social media. For those that are listening to this, if you do not follow Society Mortgage on social media, you should, because you may learn a few things related to marketing, but you also will see this really silly, fun group of people who obviously enjoy being together. And I look for those during the day because they're kind of my little pick me up. So appreciate you and your team for also giving us those little pick me ups throughout the week, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you appreciate that.
Yeah. Hang on.